Hi, good evening. My journey into autoimmune neurology is a long journey. If you ask me when did it start, during my MD days, we used to see good neurological cases. Often the diagnosis of CNS angiitis will be given as a DD. This happens when there is a multi-system involvement in case or multi-level involvement. So then we looked at how to diagnose it. We need brain biopsy for a definite diagnosis. It's almost impossible, and this we use for passing exams. So at that time, I started thinking how to make the diagnosis of CNS angiitis, that's primary CNS angiitis, easy. So that was the time I started thinking about working in autoimmune disease of the nervous system. Subsequently, when I joined for my DM neurology in Chitra, I had a posting in enhanced in pathology. That time I collect a lot of literature on this, and I got a research idea. There must be some proteins in the central nervous system vessels, and if you can develop, find out that, you may be able to diagnose it with a blood test. So probably an antibody against a unique CNS protein, CNS vascular protein. So I was seriously thinking about how to. I was dreaming for a training where a clinician will be helped to develop into discovering disease markers. At the same time, the NMO-IgG was prescribed by Mayo Clinic group. So I was very delighted, and I thought I should meet such people and learn how to discover disease markers. So this is how my interest in autoimmune neurology started. I was looking for different fellowship programs. I found that most of the neuroimmunology is about multiple sclerosis. I found that a program was started in 2006 called Autoimmune Neurology, which is meeting my requirement. That is non-MS, more emphasis on newer diseases and discovering disease markers. And it is by the same people, the people who discovered NMO. So I decided to go there. So that's how I applied for Mayo Fellowship. So I joined in 2010 as the fourth candidate. It was a very good training program. So as the aim mentioned, it's about disease markers. It was really a good experience to work with the stalwarts of autoimmune neurology like Dr. Van Dalen, who discovered NMO-IgG. Not only NMO-IgG, she discovered many other disease markers, and she was one of the earliest person to think about antibody mediating the disease. Like her hypothesis and help only lead to discovery of acetylcholine receptor antibody in myasthenia. So that was a very good opportunity. We were able to work with great people. So from there, I learned the techniques of interpretation of these tests. And I got new ideas, like the focus there was more on paraneoplastic. If you focus on non-paraneoplastic, you may get newer things. So I thought I should come back after my training to India so that we can start working on our own diseases. I will say that it's really helpful. Not only that I perform regular tests, during my work here I was able to see so many new markers which was never seen in Mayo Clinic. Autoimmune neurology is the newest subspecialty neurology, though it is the youngest. It's a rapidly growing one. If you look at the list of the antibodies, they are more and more ones are being added. The result is that there are autoimmune dementia, autoimmune epilepsy, autoimmune stroke, autoimmune movement disorder. So more and more neurological disorders are being recognized as autoimmune. It's good for the patient as well as the doctor. At least we have a good treatment to offer them. So if you ask me about the incidence and prevalence of the autoimmune neurological disease, no exact data is available. Autoimmunity is known to occur in 4 to 5% of individuals. Exact incidence and prevalence of autoimmune neurological disorder taken together is unknown. Altogether, that is becoming a substantial proportion. One of the recent French study, they found that the autoimmune encephalitis and paraneoplastic syndromes are being recognized more and more year after year. The main problem is the lack of a good testing facilities. Not only the lack of testing facility, its availability to the clinician as well as the patient. That is also an important factor. Like in US, there is Mayo Clinic, which serves for a large number of population, and there is a good service network which will deliver the sample. So, though neurologists are aware of autoimmune neurological disease, lack of testing centers that integrate quality testing with inputs from a clinical neurologist, that is one of the biggest limitations. So this can provide an actionable diagnosis of neurology. Often their concern is what if we test. So if such a high quality service is available, this problem can be solved. A good network has to be made so that clinician should be and patient should be able to give the sample, get it interpreted, and they should be able to interact with the lab about the reports, about the treatment plans. So such a network is the high need of the time. Testing is very important. Positive tests in the right context is one of the strongest evidence for an autoimmune neurological disorder. It can change the whole picture. You get an antibody tested positive. In the right clinical context, it will tell you that the disease is treatable. The early diagnosis and treatment is the most important factor for a good outcome. So what is one of the surest thing in autoimmune neurology is that early diagnosis, early treatment, and early second line if it is refractory. So the cornerstone here is early diagnosis, early treatment, and early second line. So obviously the testing is the first step to achieve this goal. The standard dictum in the autoimmune neurology is testing in paired samples. That means testing in both serum and CSF. So our aim is to develop a world-class testing service at a reasonable cost. We have a very good research facility right now. So we are the only autoimmune neurology research facility in the country. So here we discovered many newer antibodies. We are in the process of classifying them. These antibodies are more common than the current antibodies which are discovered in other countries. So we have a great hope that we will be able to provide a better service. We are in a continuous process of developing newer panels, which is the high need of our country. Based on our clinical experience here, we are developing the newer panels. So that will come out soon. After coming back from Mayo in 2013, we started the Neuroimmunology lab here. If you ask me about what is our major discoveries, yes, we could do something good here. In 2013 itself, we found that there is a new group of Parkinsonism called autoimmune atypical Parkinsonism. That discovery was made based on the findings on our lab, and this got published in 2016 in Journal of the Neurological Sciences. We published the initial 10 cases. Unlike the typical Parkinsonism, though these patients mimic the degenerative disease, they have neuronal antibodies and they improve with immunotherapy. We found many new neuronal antibodies with which we can recognize these disorders. We are in the process of classifying those new antibodies. Second major discovery is that the Parkinsonian manifestation of the LGI1 and Casper were described by us. So the LGI were included in our first case series of autoimmune atypical Parkinson's. Subsequently, in 2018, we wrote another paper on the MSA-like presentation of Caspar-2 antibodies. We would like to find out what are these new antibodies. We think these are more common than the NMDA, VGKC, all those antibodies which is described in the Western world. So our future work is to discover these antibodies. These antibodies right now they don't have any name, but once their all classification is done, they will be more common than the currently available antibodies, which is very promising for the neurologists.